Microsoft continues to make like these weird choices when it comes to Xbox, right? And you know, if some of you saw my other videos, I was kind of talking about how we've kind of got confirmation, which we could all kind of see where they're going with this, that the next Xbox is just going to be a PC with the ability to, I guess, emulate your current console library or whatever, which leaves a lot of unanswered questions like who are you going to go into multiplayer with? Are you going to be forced to go into multiplayer with PC people? Are they going to charge for multiplayer? For me, I personally would rather pay for multiplayer if it meant that I'm only being matched up with other console people. You know, that's kind of the thing that I think bears some talk about. And the way that Microsoft is, whenever they ever explained anything properly or thoroughly to where it's very understandable, they've never done that as far as I've been an Xbox fan, especially this current regime. Like even with this ROG Ally thing, they've multiple times say, take your library with you. And it's like, but you can't. You know, you're calling this an Xbox, but you can't take your Xbox library with you. You know, so it's weird. And, you know, they did that whole this is an Xbox thing, which didn't make any sense. And now they did another commercial, and they're using Ninja Gaiden 4, but it's a bad pick, according to this anyway. And again, I say this anyway, like, here's the thing. This whole anything's an Xbox thing never made much sense. Like, this whole cloud gaming stuff's been available for a while, but who wants to play Gears of War on a 5-inch phone? Or, you know what I mean? Like, the people that are playing games on a phone want to play stuff like Candy Crush and stuff like that. They're not going to play, you know, these hardcore games, in my opinion, on a phone. You'd be at such a disadvantage. But Microsoft social media promoting the fact that Ninja Gaiden 4 can be played on smartphones via Game Pass. It's a great game. However, the idea of hunting down Ninja Gaiden 4 achievements with a portable device sounds cool. However, to paraphrase Jurassic Park's Ian Malcolm, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Even as an optimist for Xbox's Play Anywhere strategy and someone who regularly uses Xbox Cloud Gaming to stream games to his phone, the last game I would recommend anyone to play on a smartphone is Ninja Gaiden 4, yet that's exactly what this latest Xbox ad wants you to do. It also weirdly admits that you need a controller in the image. Mercifully, you can't play Ninja Gaiden 4 with touch controls even if you wanted to. After writing a Ninja Gaiden 4 review, I actually tested the game out on cloud gaming if you only to satisfy his own curiosity, see how rough it would be. It was exactly as brutal as you might expect. Even with a flawless connection to Microsoft's servers, there's no escaping input delay when streaming a game via Game Pass. Ninja Gaiden 4 is a game that cannot be enjoyed with even a little input delay. Look, Xbox, I know you think TikTok is your major new competitor. I get that you want to inform smartphone users that they could be playing Xbox games instead of doom scrolling. I think there's merit in that. Stream the Xbox version of Final Fantasy Tactics on your phone regularly, and the turn-based RPG works great because you can wait out the input delay. All I'm saying is that you should put your best foot forward with this strategy and try not to sell people in a game that will hate playing on their phone. There are loads of titles compatible to stream your own catalog that would play well on smartphones and convince customers to keep their Game Pass subscriptions topped up. Ninja Gaiden 4 isn't one of them. That's a game that's going to make them feel like cloud gaming is still a million years away from being decent. Again, I've said this all along, like, I absolutely loathe cloud gaming for multiple reasons, right? Like, to me, cloud gaming feels like not only is it not something that is fun, but it's like it takes away not only ownership, but it feels like you're just at Microsoft's mercy to kind of do everything, you know, and that's, I think, is a real big problem. You know, it's like you're at the mercy of Microsoft. You have to do exactly what they say. You have to have like a flawless internet connection. Even if you do, you're at a disadvantage, especially like with multiplayer games and things like that. You don't own the games, you can't take the games anywhere. It's just like, you know, it's really, we're losing a lot of the rights that we had as gamers, and some people just seem to be saying, oh, well, that's okay, you know, I'm fine with that, you know, everything's going digital, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at things like, more and more people are reverting back to the idea of buying and owning their physical things. Like, I love physical media, right? Yeah, I like digital. I think there's a place for it. But if you look at it, I buy a lot of like 4K Blu-rays. And the reason why I do that, and I don't understand why more people don't think this way, if you buy a 4K Blu-ray, you get the 4K Blu-ray, a disc, a regular Blu-ray, a disc, and you get a digital version. So it's like you get all the things anyway, you know, for pretty much the same price just as buying the digital copy. So to me, that always made much more sense than, you know, anything else. and people really kind of have a hard time understanding that. For me anyway, like I'll never be into if cloud gaming were the only choice that I had, I just wouldn't game that way anymore. Like that's just something that I wouldn't feel necessary to do. But Microsoft always does make these weird choices when it comes to gaming, and their own promos are kind of everywhere or whatever, and confusing. Like Microsoft confuses more people than not, and this is why I think their new console, PC, whatever the hell it is that they're trying to kind of put out there, I think is not going to do well. It's like they're already coming out with confusing things, right? And you're going to confuse people even more. You have like your fan base is a console fan. You turn on your console, it works, plug and play. Now you're saying, okay, well, we're going to be running Windows on it, and you can do these other things. I know, especially by default, they say it's just going to be a regular thing, but it's still running Windows instead of like an Xbox OS. And here's the problem: Xbox OS wasn't super great to begin with. You know what I mean? For some reason, PlayStation's OS was still much better. I can't understand that. Microsoft, you would think Microsoft would be able to get things running incredibly well, for that, but it's just one of those things. It's one of those things that we see, where everybody is kind of talking about this stuff, and I'm not sure where it's going to lead, but for me anyway, it's just more confusing things from Microsoft, and I think that's a real problem going forward, because they're really bad at explaining things. Look back to the Xbox One. Remember how poorly they explained that stuff, right? It's like, oh, we still don't know. We still aren't really sure what's going on with that stuff, right? Like, was it a check-in every 24 hours, 48 hours, a week, a month? Like, we never heard, right? How did the licensing work? How did it, people were like, they did come out and say, okay, well, you can share your game with up to 10 people or whatever. Like, how did that work? How did the licensing work for other places? We never really got, real answers, yeah, so it's weird, to me anyway, and I'm sure a lot of you we'll probably say the same thing. Like, whatever Microsoft is doing, I'm sure like there's going to be some people that are just going to be over the moon for it, ecstatic. They're going to be like, yeah, this sounds great, I'm going to get it. And listen, for me, I've got so many games on my Xbox, right? Thousands of games, in fact. But I just cannot see myself getting into this whole idea of being able to kind of utilize what's going on. I'm not going to pay $1,000 or $1,200 for like PC versions of games and things like that. So yeah, like that's something that's probably not going to happen, and I can understand why people would think, oh, well, you're this or that or the other thing. For me anyway, I realistically just want to see just a regular console, and I think people don't understand that. For me, I love console gaming. I like the ease of use. I like all that kind of stuff about console gaming. So, having some kind of PC and there's a lot of questions, and I get that, and I'm kind of open-minded with it, but I think you just really need a lot of answers, whatever the case may be, when it comes to this stuff, right? Like, you've got to be able to have answers, and I'm willing to say, hey, okay, give it answers. I'm not interested in a PC, that much I know. I don't really need answers to understand that, but just in general, I feel like they need to do a better job of answering questions and like what's going to happen and things like that. So I hope that they can answer those questions. Certainly, it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of works, and if that's something that they can facilitate. But for me anyway, it just sounds like they have completely left, people go, they're not leaving hardware, but obviously they're leaving the console hardware space, from the sounds of it. And when you have stuff like this, it's very convoluting as to what they're actually doing. So I don't know, I guess wait and see what they're going to do. For me anyway, it seems like a pretty clear indication that I'm not going to be following them to next generation or whatever. That just doesn't appeal to me, paying a bunch of money for like a low-end PC. just not my thing. How do you guys feel about this though? What do you guys feel about the whole "this is an Xbox" ad? Do you think it's nonsense? Let me know. Sound off, rate, comment, subscribe. Rack 'em up. Prep Gamer out.